Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden. In today's video, I want to show you how to summer prune your wisteria, and also want to give you all of the information how and when to prune your wisteria throughout the year to make sure that your wisteria is going to reward you with amazing bloom for the next year. So I hope that you're excited to spend some time with me in the garden. There are all different ways on how you can grow and train a wisteria in your garden. Traditionally, a lot of people have a wisteria on a trellis growing along the house, which is really beautiful if you happen to have a brick house, especially if it is a really nice old brick home. Our house here does not work like that. It is plastered and it's painted, and every 10 to 15 years we have to paint the house, which means that it's really not practical to train anything on the wall. So what we did is we came up with a different solution and trained a wisteria on a support system, as you can see here in my back. This is what I built on my own, and now we kind of train it as a standard. It built a beautiful framework and kind of like an umbrella in my back here. And this is great if you grow it next to a terrace such as this one here. This terrace here is a deck terrace which is southwest facing, and especially during lunchtime it's beautiful if you just take your chair, just get a little closer to your wisteria and search for the nice shade that the framework casts here. So it is definitely perfect. Not only beautiful when it comes to bloom, because then on a warm day you can sit here and really enjoy the fragrance of the wisteria. You also happen to have a little bit of a side bonus if you create it like that, because you have a natural umbrella rather than one that you always have to drag out from wherever you have it in your house. So what we're going to do now is grab some secateurs and start the pruning, which is very, very easy, because if you prune your wisterias, there are just two numbers that you have to remember. They are 2 and 7, and they refer to the month of pruning and also to the pruning technique. 2 stands for February, and this is a winter prune, so you take all the new shoots and you just cut them back to 2 buds. And now we are in July, and we take all of these like long tentacle shoots that come out of the shrub and cut them back to 7 buds. A lot of people always say, and some of you even reach out to me saying that wisterias can be these very vigorous monsters, and they can be. I think here I'm a little lucky because I am at the south coast of the Baltic Sea in a zone 7b, which is moderate climate. So plants in general, they don't grow hyper vigorous. So if you are in a very warm, hot, moist climate, I can understand that wisteria can be very vigorous and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But if you are in a climate which is comparable to mine, I can really tell you based on experience, in the first couple of years when you plant them, they are bonkers. They grow crazy and everywhere, but then after a couple of years, when you always have your pruning A game on, they kind of slow down a little bit, and the pruning really gets easier because they're not as vigorous as they used to be. So all you do now is really have a closer look at your plant, and you see that there is already a quite nice framework in here, and then you have these very long kind of spaghetti-like branches coming up, new shoots, and those are the ones that you want to cut back. And the reason for it is quite simple, because when you cut them back, you make sure that they're not like endlessly growing and growing, and you encourage the plant to produce side shoots. And the side shoots are those where wisteria blooms. So quintessentially, you want to have a plant that looks a little gnarly, especially when you do the winter prune. You really see it. There is kind of like a little gnarly creature of a plant, but it is fantastic because all of those little knobs that you cut back, they will produce bloom. So what I'm going to do now is I take one of these branches here and then I'm counting. So I go all the way back to where it starts and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is bud number 7, and then I come and I always cut on an angle, which is important because if you cut on an angle, then water cannot stay there. Now it's snapped. And you see my secateurs have to be sharpened a little bit, but this is how it is supposed to look. So these dangly, very long, kind of useless new shoots, they can all go onto the compost heap now. So what I'm going to do is work my way through this entire structure, and in the end, it's going to look a lot more tamed and smaller again and more compact. But if you do it every year with that, it's still going to grow bit by bit, and then you're going to have a really beautiful framework after a couple of years. Pruning this wisteria literally took 5 minutes out of me, and it's definitely worth it. Not only that it's going to be good because you're going to have more and nicer blooms next year, but also it looks so nice and neat now again. All these tentacles that were growing out of it randomly and wildly, they are tamed now, and we have perfect little fresh branches here. They are going to produce side shoots now, and then in February I'm going to come in and cut those side shoots back to 2 pots. And what I will do too is really make sure that I tidy up the entire structure again. Anything that looks too flimsy and fabricy will be cut out completely. But you can't do it now because obviously you can't really see what you're doing in the inside of the shrub. One more thing is you can also grow wisteria very beautifully in containers. This is what I already did on a balcony in one of my previous apartments, and I also do it here. I think I shared pretty much a year ago a video where I planted that wisteria, and this year when it came to bloom, it's very beautiful. I could just take the pot and arrange it with some others in a pot garden next to the main entrance and really get to enjoy the beautiful fragrance of the plant. But that's it for today's video. I hope it was interesting for you and that you could take some good and valid information out of today's video. Thank you so much for giving me a thumbs up. Thank you if you decide to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to see more from my garden, you can always click on the link down below this video that guides you straight to my Instagram account. So thank you once again. I'm really happy to welcome you next time around in my garden. So take care, guys. Bye.